Chapter 23.
This right here, my friends, is the Dremel Micro. And I fitted it with the excellent Dremel Quick Release, which I highly recommend. Now, if you get a Dremel, and if you don't have one, you're going to want one if you do any kind of product modding or hacking or making that involves plastic and other soft materials. However, if you get a Dremel, then you're going to get some cool drill bits. And then you're going to get some nice carbide cutoff bits. And then you're going to get a nice carbide cutoff wheel, quick release. And then you're going to get all the stuff that comes with the Dremel tool. Wrenches and a bunch of bits and burrs and things like that. And now you've got a big box of junk. What do you do with it? Well, I have one word for you, and that is Stegosaurus. We are going to spend 15 minutes today, and we're going to turn this Stegosaurus into the coolest Dremel tool bit organizer imaginable. Stay tuned. Okay, the first thing you're going to need is to gather your safety equipment. Get yourself some safety goggles. Eye protection, crucially important if you use cutoff wheels and stuff like that. The other thing you're going to need is to gather your products. And for this particular project, you only need one product, and that is a dinosaur or a lumbering creature with a long spine that can act as a vessel for your Dremel bit holder. You could use an Argentosaurus. It's pretty neat. Has a long back. You could use a Triceratops. Not bad, but it's got that weird thing on the front of its head. I recommend Stegosaurus. It's got a nice long back that's really going to be great to hold a lot of tools. The other thing you're going to need, of course, is the Dremel and all the Dremel bits. All of these things that I'm showing you, you can find links to those either in the show notes or in the project itself at playhacker.com. Let's get started. Okay, so let's start with the hypothesis. The hypothesis today is pretty simple. It is that I need to store a bunch of Dremel bits and I don't want to put them in a box. And so I think that a dinosaur and drilling holes along the spine of a dinosaur is probably going to make a really nice drill bit holder. But let's figure that out. I'm going to take my trusty notebook here, and you'll notice I've got a business card holder, and I've got a pen holder, and I've got a really cool notebook that has a bunch of placeholders in it. And I'm going to draw a hypothesis, which basically means a sketch that tests the theory. Let's take this guy, let's lay him right on the page. Let's just kind of sketch him in place. I'm just going to trace him. And so the question is, can we fit all of these pieces? I've got a cutoff wheel. I've got a fiber brush. I've got a glass wheel. I've got 4 drill bits. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I've got 2 carbide wheels, but I know I'm actually going to buy more. So it looks to me like if I space these at about 1/2 inch, it's probably going to work out pretty well. So that's today's story right there. I drew in some drill bits. I drew in some cutting wheels. I drew in some grinders. I drew in some cutoff wheels. And I drew in a few extra spots. And it looks like I can fit all of them in the Stegosaurus if I cut off all his spines. So let's go to it. Step number 1 is to cut the spines off the Stegosaurus. Now you could use your snips for that. I didn't include those in the tools we needed today because we already have a Dremel. And since we love our Dremel, we might as well go ahead and use that. But for that, I'm going to have to suit up. And it's going to be a bit hard to hear me because it'll be all muffled, but that's the way it goes. Okay, hope you can hear me okay, muffled talking through my face mask. But I got my Dremel tool here, and I'm going to lock the bit, and then I'm going to remove the current bit that's in there. Then I'm going to put in my cutting wheel, like that. I'm going to tighten it up. It's good. Does that ring true? Let's make sure everything is completely locked. Let's test it. It's pretty good. We're going to have it on a nice low speed, like that. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut off these spines. You know, that kind of sucks. I don't think that's working really good. So I'm going to say let's introduce some snips to this. So for one thing, you can see that I kind of like left about a shag right there. And for another thing, it's just taking too long. Now I can turn the heat up, the speed up, but that would increase the friction. And that would mean that everything got more melty. So let's just try some snips. And it turns out snips work pretty well. Now these are super dull, so I'm having to really work at it. But in the video, I'm just going to fast forward through all this. I'm going to take those, I'm going to leave these. Those things I want to keep them because they look cool. There. So, obviously I could have taken my mask off because I wasn't using the Dremel, but I'm going to use it now. I'm going to take this wire, this cutter wheel off because I don't think I like it, and I'm going to put on the burr. Let's put on the burr. Like that. Put it right about there. Lock this sucker down. Test it. Let's go a little faster. And let's just clean this thing up. That sucks too. It doesn't really work, which means that I might have to bring out the X-Acto knife, which I don't like to use because it's dangerous and I can cut myself. But let's try it. This right here is a kick-ass X-Acto knife. You can get them in packs off of Amazon, and they have a real sharp blade on them, and the blade is really easy to break off with some pliers anytime it gets dull, and there's like 10 in the little handle, and you get a whole pack of these. So I'm going to go try to see if that's a good way to get the bits off of his back. Actually, you know, having said that, I don't really mind the way he looks right now, and I think we can just drill down through him, but let me just try to clean him up. Again, I'll probably fast forward this because it's probably really boring. Oh my God, this works great. A nice sharp knife and just takes those things right off. The only problem, of course, is that you can also cut into his back and lose a little of his nice coloring if you cut too close. What I think we'll do is after we get these things off is we will add some coloring back. Now you notice I'm cutting towards myself, and a lot of people say don't do that because it's dangerous. But it's also dangerous to cut away from yourself, and it's really hard to have good control. So what I like to do is prop my hand against the cutting surface and move real carefully, and just make sure that I'm not cutting towards my hand or towards my face. Also, it's typically a good idea to have less knife sticking out so there's less blade to go flying off and hit somebody. This actually works really, really great. I'm very surprised. And I think we're going to call this good. I mean, it really doesn't need to get all off anyway. And I think what we'll do next is we will take a Sharpie and we will add that to the kit and use that as our mock-up to color him so that he doesn't look so stripy. It's not bad at all. What about his neck? Can we store any tools in his neck? We might be able to. Let's cut off one more. Yeah, what the hell? I think these things, they look pretty dumb now, so I'm just going to take them off. There, that's the guy. Okay, So the next thing you need is this drill bit right here, which is the drill bit that is exactly the same size as all Dremel shanks. See that? And this comes in the Dremel drill bit set that I linked to in the notes. So now I'm going to take my chuck, I'm going to lock it, I'm going to tighten it up. There you go. This is what we are going to use to drill our dude. And turn the speed up to 20. I'm going to say, let us drill as a first test his neck. I think I'm going to come in at an angle like this. Okay? So as you notice, he is hollow. Now I'm going to try one right here. Let's see if it's easier for you to see if I do it this way. Looks pretty good. Now, interestingly, if we want to, let me turn that off so it's not so noisy. Interestingly, if we want to, what we can do is we can drill along the sides of his body and make him create a kind of a spiny porcupine. But there are some things like that, and we could kind of emulate that by adding other rows along the sides as we get more tools. But since I've only got a few tools, we're going to do it just like this. Now let's see what we got. In no particular order, I'm just going to poke in some things like this. Actually, it doesn't make sense to put that there, does it? In my drill bit section, maybe I'll take the drill bit out of this tool. So this is my drill bit section, and it goes large to small, like that. Then I guess I will put my spiny catcher. I think I will put my, see these things, I think the best thing to do is put the big things probably at the back, would you think? Or maybe they need to go at the front. It's really hard to say where they look best, and it's hard to say where they will fit most nicely with other tools. I think we're going to put it at the front because we have some extra space there and we have some good angle. So this is kind of how it's going together, like that. Looks like I drilled randomly. I was just guessing. I drilled almost the right number of holes. Let's find another tool in here that we want to store. We'll put this tool right here. That'll fill up all the holes that I drilled. So what I'm going to do next with this guy is I'm going to pull all these tools out again, and I'm going to take a big fat Sharpie, and I'm going to draw a black stripe down his back to cover up those kind of marks I left when I cut off some of the paint deco. Now I got to go find a Sharpie, but this is video, so I'll cut that out. All right, one king-size Sharpie. This thing is going to be awesome. It's going to do the trick. We don't need to get fancy with paint today. So I'm going to take the Sharpie and I'm just going to go in and I'm going to touch up those green things. That's pretty nice. When this dries, it's going to be a little bit more muted and it's going to look really nice. Let's call that good. And let's go ahead and put the stuff back in. Look how beautiful that is, huh? Pretty awesome. Let's put him like that. How does he look? He looks great. So I'm going to call this done. You know, this is pretty cool. as my tool holder. So now what it looks like in my workbench is I have my Dremel holder, like that, and right next to it, I've got my dino that's going to hold all my tools. I think that's pretty kick-ass. And if you want more projects like this, be sure to go to playhacker.com. You're going to see a full breakdown of all the instructions on how to do all of these kind of projects, a bunch of other projects that you can find using keyword search to drill in on the things you're really interested in and your skill level. And the other thing you can do is you can find links there to all the tools and the parts and the products we use in each project.